Hundreds of protesters have gathered outside the Kensington Town Hall, asking for justice in aftermath of the Grenfell Tower blaze. The protest appears to have been organised by a friend of someone who was lost in the blaze. Their chief demand is that victims are rehomed within the borough, and they have asked for funds to be given to those who lost their homes and belongings in the fire. There were shouts of "We want an inquest," and "We want justice" as the Radical Housing Network staged a rally outside the hall. Meanwhile, angry protesters waited for Theresa May to exit the church in which she was visiting relatives of lost people and called for her to resign. The hostile crowd shouted "Get her out!" And there were claims the Prime Minister could potentially be trapped in the church by the angry people outside. After this, Theresa May slipped out by a side door and left to shouts of "Coward." At Kensington, protesters held up placards and posters of their missing friends and relatives as they asked for answers. There could end up being 3 protests tonight. One is planned to be at Westminster. The confirmed death toll has risen to 30 but is expected to soar significantly, police have said, as anger mounts over a litany of failings that led to the disaster. As Theresa May stands accused of failing to show humanity during a visit to the blaze site, emergency services are picking through the West London blocks charred remains in search of bodies for a 3rd day. The Queen and Prince William have today visited a rest centre, with Her Majesty at one point looking close to tears as she spoke to people affected by the blaze. After a string of politicians have been heckled by angry locals demanding answers, more than 2,700 people are said to be attending a Westminster rally on Friday night to demand justice, raising fears that tensions could boil over. Whole families are among those who remain unaccounted for since the blaze, which police fear was so devastating that some victims might never be identified. More than 70 people have been named by relatives as missing. 30 people are now confirmed to have died, but it is feared the figure could rise above 100. 24 people remain in hospital, 12 of them in critical care.